I'm Dr. Gloria Horsley, and today I have the opportunity to introduce to you Ted Bowman, who's an educator, author, and consultant who specializes in change and transition. Well, Ted, it's great to have you on this YouTube today. And could you tell us what are some of the factors around loss?
I think, to oversimplify it, I think there are two categories. Conspicuous losses, so things that everyone would know. It's a death, it's a divorce, it's a diagnosis, it's dismissal from a job, and so on. And then there are more internal losses that I've come to call shattered dreams and loss of dreams that have to do with our pictures about the way that life was supposed to be. Tip of the iceberg, the part that we know, are these conspicuous losses. But people have taught me something about another kind of loss, and they might be dealing with a death, they might be dealing with a diagnosis, and they would say, this wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
Never thought this would happen. This is not part of our plan. Or they would say, this is not fair.
Mm-hmm.
We jumped through the hoops, we did what they told us, this is not fair. Others would ask what I heard as a question years ago, but now I realize is more a cry of grieving. Why don't they warn you? Why don't they tell you?
Mm-hmm.
And finally, someone taught me about this notion of shattered dreams when it was actually a client turning to another client in a group and said something like, it sounds to me like you had some pictures of your life, some pictures of the way your life was supposed to be, and life hasn't turned out to match the pictures.
Yeah. Well, what happens when people have a lot of stuff under the iceberg and they don't deal with it?
Well, our culture helps people to deal with the conspicuous losses.
Mm-hmm.
We have rites of divorce, we have ceremonies of retirement, we have funerals. There's no ceremony, there's no process for dealing with a shattered dream. I can look around in a room of people, I have no clue who has a shattered dream.
Mm-hmm.
And so for some people, in order to move forward to what we sometimes call hope, healing, recovery, living with loss, they have to let go of old pictures in order to create new pictures.
So what if I've got this picture? Have you got a couple of tips for me on how I can start working with that?
Part of it's just the naming, as I'm doing in this conversation with you, because if something's unmentionable, it's unmanageable.
Right.
And so to raise it to consciousness, to help people to be aware of a shattered dream, can help them to not only bury the dead, but also in some ways grieve the shattered dream of not wanting to be a widow, of not wanting to be a parent of a dead child, of not wanting to deal with a mental illness, whatever it might be. To name that is the first step toward moving to deal with it and address it.
Great. Thank you so much for being on our YouTube today.
Not the person that I used to be, and that I'll never be the same. That's true.